Coming up, an Osage filmmaker turns to fashion design. A voyage unites Indigenous people in the Pacific through ancient trade routes. And Comedy Central features hilarious short native films. I'm Mackenzie Allen Charmley. Join us for those interviews plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Arizona State University welcomes 3,500 Indigenous students from Arizona and across the nation. It serves one of the largest populations of Indigenous students among U.S. colleges and universities. We created a sense of place for tribal nations to create futures of their own making through community outreach and research, taught by world-class Indigenous faculty where they see a reflection of themselves and their experiences. Find community at ASU.
This is the ICT Newscast with Elia Chavez.
Chinangale, we're so glad you could join us. We start today in Washington, D.C., where organizers are fresh off a major event involving young Indigenous change makers. ICT's Polly Dinetclaw was on the ground and has this report.
The United National Indian Tribal Youth, commonly known as UNITY, held the largest conference in the nearly 50-year history this week. Over 2,400 youth from across the country were in Washington, D.C. to attend. The theme, Healing the Spirit of Native Youth. Recent high school graduate Helen John, who is Tlingit from Juneau, Alaska, spoke to ICT.
What it means to me is having your own knowledge of the language and being able to go and just feel at home in your native land. It's really healing for you to live on your native land and know who you are. And when you don't know who you are, it's very challenging. So it's just to heal the spirit is to learn your culture and have that cultural knowledge and be able to pass it on to other people.
Growing up, John was part of the Tlingit Culture, Language, and Literacy program. She eventually became an instructor with the program, and she is one of the many youth leaders who come from their communities to this yearly gathering. To get here, young leaders ages 14 to 24 who serve on Unity-affiliated youth councils are sponsored by Indigenous nations. Unity has 320 youth councils operating in 36 states. The organization is youth-led and provides a space for the young people to connect with each other. It was 4 days of workshops, regional caucus meetings, and cultural exchange. In Washington, D.C., Polly Dinetclaw, ICT News.
There are over 200,000 alumni of Unity, and that number grows every year. Moving to Wisconsin, where the indigenous cannabis business has hit a milestone. Only about 50 U.S. tribes are involved in some way in the cannabis and industrial hemp industries, but that number seems poised to grow. Last week, Wisconsin's Sakangong Chippewa community joined the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association, a trade and policy advocacy group. The organization's work centers on creating opportunities and equity in the cannabis and hemp industries for Indigenous people and tribal nations. And this marks the first time a tribal government has joined this organization. Leaders are calling this an important moment as Indian country moves into industries with promises that also come with certain taboos. But those deals may disappear as analysts say the cannabis market alone could top $50 billion by 2028.
We have one tribe doing it, and then we have other people doing it. It grows and gets bigger and better, and for the benefit of all the people. And that's where we got to get people to go to.
This is really a special time to see tribes working with other tribes. You've seen it before. We'd like to see it happen more often in hemp and cannabis, and we know that we need each other to make this work.
Recent numbers from the U.S. Census Bureau revealed there is growth in the indigenous population. According to the Bureau's 2022 yearly estimate, the overall population in America has grown to 333.2 million people. For Native American and Alaska Natives, the increase is about 93,000. That takes the estimated overall total to 7.2 million Native people. Arizona's Maricopa County and Clark County in Nevada had the biggest increase in Indigenous populations. An uptick in birth also helped propel growth, specifically in tribal and Native Hawaiian populations. Census figures help determine how and where $2.8 trillion in federal government spending is distributed each year. Moving to the West Coast, Indigenous educational history has been made. Last month, Muckleshoot Tribal College and the University of Tacoma, Washington celebrated an incredible accomplishment. Together, the schools were able to graduate 10 doctoral students from a first-of-its-kind program taught by all Indigenous faculty. Called the Muckleshoot Cohort, the goal is to support changemakers working in communities with Indigenous knowledge ways. Finally, we can reclaim education in our native places, Muckleshoot citizen and program leader Denise Bill said of the accomplishment. The next cohort of Indigenous leaders begins in January 2025. Vice President Kamala Harris was in Arizona on Thursday as part of the White House's Investing in America tour. She visited the Gila River Indian community to highlight the administration's commitment to Native Americans. Harris also granted ICT the rare opportunity to speak with her directly. Join us next week to hear from the Vice President in a special ICT exclusive interview. Find out what she had to say about Indigenous affairs when we sat down with her one-on-one. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. Hud Oberly grew up in Norman, Oklahoma, and now the Osage filmmaker turned fashion designer is in New York, preparing to launch a new fashion line. ICT's Stewart Huntington has this interview.
It's everything I'm looking for. It's the fast pace, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of creatives and artists and art all around. Obviously my eyes are open to that, to looking for that, passing by that, but I feel like the opportunities here are endless, and so that's exactly what I'm looking for right now in this creative time and this kind of entrepreneurial time as well. So it provides for all of that.
Tell us about your blank canvas collection. That sounds really cool.
So the blank canvas collection is a slow release collection of items. So by that, I'm releasing it over the span of a year and a half. So starting out with the vest that I launched last fall. And then moving forward, starting this fall, I'll be releasing about 3 to 5 items per season. And so those items are made with organic canvas and then also a dyed black organic canvas. And so the concept behind that is for artists to apply their own art to that, whether it's embroidery, painting, beading, anything, for them to kind of use that as their canvas and make something new out of those original designs. I want it to be built upon with other artists, and the whole brand has a focus on artists and supporting artists through different things, but the blank canvas specifically is to provide like its own blank canvas.
You have a new line you're about to release.
Yeah, so there's a mini collection called the Here's to You Summer Art Camp, and so it's tied to the brand Here's to You's kind of mission to let everyone know that they're creative in some way. And so it's kind of like the entry point to things like the blank canvas collection, where maybe that's more geared towards practicing artists, professional artists. But the summer art camp is a little seed so that people can feel that they're creative as well. So when I launch the collection, I'm going to be also doing some in-person events so that there's some interactive art opportunities. And the back of the shirt says your inner child is an artist. So hopefully the people that get it, wherever they may be, but specifically in New York City, walking around, it makes people think about themselves being an artist and kind of having that childlike joy brought back to them through creativity.
Your work is for sale at Relative Arts, the new Indigenous creative space in downtown New York. The co-founders there talk about promoting Indigenous futurism. What does that mean to you?
To me, Indigenous futurism is the collective effort by anyone of all ages to imagine what indigeneity looks like in the future, whether that's 10 years or 500 years, figuring out what that means for holding on to our sovereignty, holding on to individual sovereignty of allowing someone to become themselves so that they can be their unique self and be additive to the collective community, but having that responsibility and accountability to play their part and have their unique perspective be added to the conversations.
Hud, tell us about your work with scholarships.
Yeah, so I'm on the board for Natives Forward Scholars Fund, formerly American Indian Graduate Center. I've been on their board since 2019. We're the largest direct scholarship provider of Native students in the United States.
Supporting students sounds like Indigenous futurism.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of the public servant work that I've done for Indian country. It's like finding the emerging talent, whether that's students or artists, and meeting them where they're at to help support them and their vision, so that we can support them where it might not fall into the mainstream societal institutions and their structures, but finding them where they're at and supporting them wherever their imagination may go. And I guess you could relate that to imagining Indigenous futurism.
Hud, you grew up immersed in your native cultures. Tell us about how that has helped you navigate your early career.
Yeah, well, I grew up dancing in our Osage Ilanchka since I was 8 years old. And so now that's been 20 years now, just putting that math together in my head. But 20 years being a part of our Ilanchka, which is our ceremonial gatherings that happen in June. And so, I mean, just being very Osage specific on those things, there's a lot of structure and certain ways of doing things and doing things the right way. And so there's things that I think are carried through me and through the work that I do that relate to those things. But I think just generally being raised around my culture, whether it's Osage, Comanche, or Caddo, is that those things have molded my mind to how I make decisions. And so the ideas that I have through Here's to You or with Native Forward or the other things I do, they may not be directly like, this is an Osage idea or this is a traditional Caddo or Comanche idea, but those ways of thinking that I grew up around informed the decisions I have and translate to not just Indigenous related decisions, but everything I do. And I think that's where there's freedom now, which is great in the art world, is that people can come from their Indigenous backgrounds, but not everything has to be feathers, headdresses, roaches, and it can be that, but it doesn't have to be.
Crew members from the Polynesian Voyaging Society are setting course on the Pacific Ocean. Using traditional wayfinding to ignite a movement, they bring awareness to care for Mother Earth. We bring you this story with videographer Gabe Strong. Take a look.
Meet Hokulea, a double-hulled voyaging canoe and the center of a story about survival, rediscovery, and restoration. In 2019, Hokulea and her crew completed a 6-year journey circumnavigating the globe, stopping in over 150 ports around Polynesia, the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic, through North America, and then home to Hawaii, and she did it using Indigenous knowledge ways. Think back to before people calculated latitude and longitude, and before the compass or GPS was invented. That was when Pacific Islanders navigated through wayfinding, using the stars, winds, ocean swells, and sun to travel through the open ocean. Around 50 years ago, it was believed these methods were lost in Hawaii. That was until some Kanaka Maoli or Native Hawaiians learned that wayfinding was still being practiced in some areas of Micronesia. They studied wayfinding under the direction of Mau Piailug, a master navigator from the island of Soto, and then built a traditional canoe named Hokulea. In 1976, Hokulea made her first voyage from Hawaii to Tahiti, marking an important and cherished moment in her people's history. The Polynesian Voyaging Society has announced its latest voyage called Moana Nui Akea. Taking 4 years to complete, Hokulea is set to navigate the vast Pacific Ocean, traveling to 36 countries and stopping at more than 300 ports. That's an estimated 100 indigenous territories. The voyage started in mid-June in Alaska and is set to conclude in the spring of 2027. But before the journey started, there was a ceremonial welcome. As Hokulea approached Auk Bay in Juneau, Alaska natives sent traditional canoes to escort members of Hokulea's crew. Protocol started with crew members asking permission to come on shore. They were met with a warm welcome of chanting, singing, and drumming. According to the president of the Tlingit and Haida, it was a welcome that has happened long ago between these indigenous cultures.
This is exactly how we would have seen it 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. And the message for me was our traditions are alive, our culture is alive, our people are still thriving here after tens of thousands of years. And despite colonialism and all those things that have been created to separate and divide us, we're still here, we're still rich in our culture. The Pacific Ocean doesn't divide us, it actually unites us, it ties us together. It's our highway, as we're all canoe people.
Both Native Hawaiian and Alaska Native culture was on full display.
Our Hawaiian relatives, our ohana, coming here to our lands to visit helps us just continually dedicate ourselves to the revitalization of our own cultures. You know, we get to bring out our best today. We get to show off in the best way possible, not in an ego way, not in a Western view of showing off, but showing off in the way that we celebrate who we are. We dance without any qualms. We're unapologetic. We sing unapologetically. We don't care who's here, who might be worried about our loud voices and our drums in our own homelands. We're unapologetically Tlingit, we're unapologetically Haida, and we're unapologetically Tsimshian.
Ka'ivi Hamakua Makue is a crew member who says part of this voyage is to develop young leaders through the stops they make. The ultimate hope is to create an educational campaign amplifying the importance of the ocean and to inspire people to make better choices to protect our planet.
Moana Nui Akea is the name of the voyage, and that really, Moana is the deep ocean, and Nui Akea is actually the expanse of the ocean. And as I've traveled, as we have traveled, we have this interconnectedness with everybody that we come into. Our ancestors believed that the ocean was more of a bridge, was a connection to people rather than an obstacle. And so when we think about the ocean and the lessons that it teaches us, I think it teaches us how to really be intentional of our space. You know, being aware of our surroundings, our environment, it humbles us. It teaches us that we're not sometimes all that, you know, and sometimes that we have to be able to humble ourselves and to learn from the things around us, the people, the environment.
Right now, the health and the vitality of the Pacific Ocean is probably more precarious than it's ever been, right? Pollution, ocean trawlers that are overfishing, and you know, we're seeing our resources taken by others.
That's all part of the reason why Hokulea's voyage is significant and needed.
We have another Olelo No'eau, or phrase called he wa'a he moku he wa'a, that the island is a canoe and the canoe is an island. And is that if we treat our honua, our earth, like a wa'a, as an island, with that mindset of taking care of our space, that what we take care of is limited, and that we want to steward it for future generations, not only our physical self, our spiritual, but even our mental, and just everything that encompasses that.
Gone Native is a 5-part series of digital shorts that uses comedy to educate people about some of the issues that face Native people. ICT's Paris Wise sat down with its creator, Joey Clift, and Comedy Central's VP of Social Impact, Erika Soto. Take a look.
Joey, how did you come up with this? Can you talk to us about the early development stages of this project?
When a few of my friends were posting about a protest against the, at the time, unfortunately named Washington, D.C. NFL team's name, and somebody commented on the Facebook post for the protest saying something to the effect of, I just got my DNA test in the mail, and it turns out I'm like 159th Indian or whatever. And I think the team name is fine. So everybody just lay off. So I saw this post from this person, and I really wanted to share, like something with him to maybe explain to him why, like, that is maybe not the best way to look at Native identity. And maybe he's not the person to speak for all Native people. Ultimately nobody is. We're not a monolith. But the only things that I could really find at the time were like longer think pieces. And I kind of figured like, oh, that guy's probably not going to watch or read a long think piece, but I might be able to get him to watch like a 2-minute funny animated comedy video. So I made an animated short called Telling People You're Native American When You're Not Native is a lot like telling a bear you're a bear when you're not a bear. The title is 24 words long. And I screened it at a UCB show. It really did well. So I submitted it to festivals and it did great. And that was kind of the first Gone Native short. And then, that got such a positive reaction that I figured like, oh, there's way more weird microaggressions that Native folks deal with. We can make a ton of these shorts.
And Erika, how did this partnership with Comedy Central give this project a place to live?
Yeah, well, I have the great privilege of trying to figure out ways that comedy can be used for social good and social change. And I feel so lucky that early into doing this work at Comedy Central, I met Joey as part of a comedy incubation lab program called Yes and Laughter Lab, which really works to find people who are already making funny shorts or stand-up or any format of comedy with a mission for social good. And so when I first saw Joey's, I think that short that you just told the origin story of, I loved it and wanted to figure out more ways for how I can bring that to the Comedy Central wider platform and help people understand social issues in ways that are, like Joey said, very few people are going to read a long think piece, but everybody is looking for something to laugh at and laugh with. And some of that time, that comedy that we produce and that we give a platform to can also have an important social aim, which is really what the Gone Native series is about, is helping people understand these important issues for not only for the Native community, but for all of us.
Pretendians, mascots, classroom history, the ancient Indian burial ground trope, those are all covered as well. Joey, how did you continue the evolution in picking these other topics?
The other shorts, I worked in partnership with Mick Moore of Moore and Associates, who's was the impact producer of the final 3 shorts. And we basically like worked together having conversations about like, okay, what are the funny microaggressions to point out? And also what are like the useful things to point out? So one of the shorts, I believe 6 things you didn't learn about Native people in high school. That was like originally an idea that Mick pitched of like, oh, that would be useful to have that as like something that can, educate people about like the near complete lack of education about, Native people, contemporary Native people in K through 12 education systems. And then, a lot of the others, it's just sort of like, it was very funny to me to do a short called Every Time You Say Something Is Your Spirit Animal, You Have to Give Every Native American Person $25. So, you kind of like some of them, you're like, oh, this one would be a good one to have, but this one just like makes me laugh, and, hopefully like splitting the difference between that. And I think that, with the conversations with, like folks like Comedy Central and Moore and Associates, I'm like really proud of the topics that we covered. And I think we all cover them in a really, funny, easy to digest way.
The way that they're done gives room for Native people to enjoy them as well. I've seen friends and family sharing them all over social media. So how was it that audience was considered in this project?
I'll get a lot of, non-Native folks who will thank me for creating something that, like was a funny short that also educated them about something they're not super educated about. But then in addition to that, like Native folks will thank me for creating just like an easy thing that pointed out a weird thing that like bugs them, but there's not really anything in the media that like makes fun of it in the way that they wish that it was made fun of. So, I think that it was like an audience of just making things that I want to make first, but then like learning that like, oh, it's like, it's other people also relate to these things that are, mini rants that I'm going on.
I'm both proud of what we've done already, but want to figure out ways for us to create more and more opportunities for Native comedians and comedians from other historically underrepresented groups.
I am just so optimistic to see not just Native comedians, trying their craft and doing cool stuff, but also like outlets like Comedy Central giving even more Native comedians just opportunities, and even more marginalized comedians from underrepresented groups the opportunity to let their funny out into the world.
Joey Clift and Erika Soto, thank you so much for joining us.
Yay, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.